Hi there folks, it's James here from the Mad Tin Hatter blog. I'm on today, I'm going to try and cut out the M's, so excuse me, but I'm on today just to talk about a project that I'm starting. The project is very close to my heart, so this is a little bit sad. I'm just going to probably read out something from my screen here, because it's a little bit easier to talk about this way. So, this was a post that I did on the 24th of September on my personal Facebook, just to make an announcement. So what I said was, it's with heavy hearts and the deepest sorrow that myself and my wife must announce the passing of our gentle baby boy, Joshua. We discovered on the 16th of September that Joshua didn't have a heartbeat anymore. He was 34 weeks and 2 days at that point. He was delivered after a really difficult week in hospital. He was delivered on Friday the 20th September at North Tees University Hospital after my wife had to undergo an induced labour. We had a period with him where we got some cuddles and things before I took him to carry on the rest of his journey with us. We did have the opportunity to have a naming and blessing ceremony in the ward at the hospital. Staff were, as usual for the NHS, amazing. Joshua went on to have a series of tests and an autopsy in order to try and figure out what happened, because at this point we don't know. He came back to us this week and he had his cremation with us yesterday. So this is all extremely raw, but there's something I wanted to move on with, what I'm trying to do. Obviously for my son, this would have been my second boy. I'm not going to have the opportunity to spend any more time with him or do anything else for him. So what I had planned to do was to try and raise some money for a couple of charities. There's one called ForJoshuasArmy, which helps support families like myself and my wife who've undergone stillbirth and miscarriage. They provided us with a memory box. Sorry, all the M's again. They provided us with a memory box which contained lots of things which we hadn't thought of or wouldn't have thought of in the really difficult circumstances that we were in. That was provided free, and we were extremely grateful that someone else had thought of that and donated it. So we would like to give some money back to that charity. I would also like to try and raise some money for the local NHS Trust charity that looks after the well-being and the comfort of patients and staff. The staff at North Tees were absolutely amazing. They basically had an apartment for us that we could stay in whilst we were going through the medical process. I was able to stay with my wife. I was fed, I was looked after as well as she was, all the way through. So I would quite like to try and raise some money to donate to improve the comfort of other people who might be in a similar unfortunate circumstance in the future. Looking at me, you can tell that I'm not one for doing a sponsored run or anything like that. The one thing I have that I feel I can contribute is my hobby and my models, which is something that I won't get to share with Joshua. So what I'm planning to do is a bit of a difference from my usual World War II stuff. I'm going to do a 10mm fantasy project. two sides, a good and an evil side. The evil side are mainly going to be orcs, goblins, undead, evil elves, all that kind of usual fantasy stuff. The side of good is going to be made up of various units from different human nations, different good races, elves, dwarves, lizardmen, all that sort of thing. Local guys at the Wargames Club have really graciously and genuinely come through for me, and various people are putting efforts into different forces to get this started. I'm myself doing some knights for the goodies and an undead army for the baddies. The plan is hopefully to get contributions from the community, whether it's just support or if people want to paint up a 10mm scale fantasy army or unit or model or character or anything in order to contribute to this army for Joshua. And then what the plan would be is that as the Wargames Club, we go to various shows in the UK through the course of the year. We would tour these shows with the game as it develops, use a couple of different systems to see what works the best, and then at the end of the whole process, probably November next year, although it just depends how fast we get things done, we would raffle off the entire collection, both sides together, with dice and terrain and all that sort of stuff. If we got enough models to do two lots of opposing forces, then we would raffle the two, so we would have one set of good versus evil and another set of good versus evil, and the raffle prizes would be one or the other, etc. This isn't for my personal gain, although having something to do that I feel like I'm contributing is really good for me. The intention is that I'm not going to materially benefit from this. The plan is that this will be done for charity. I would really love for other people to get involved. I would love to have units that are painted or donated from elsewhere, from other community members who are willing to give up their time for my little boy. Said it doesn't have to be much, just a character, unit or monster or anything at 10mm scale. You don't have to do the basing. I'll handle the basing. I've done a blog post laying out what I'm looking for. Generally speaking, the standard pack sizes for figures that 10mm manufacturers do. So a cavalry unit would be about 12 figures, an infantry unit between 20 and 30 figures, war machines 2 to 3, kind of large, medium monsters like giants 2 to 3, things like trolls or ogres might be 6 or so, just kind of standard unit sizes. You can paint them and send them to me, and I'll base them up so that everything's on bases and people don't have to worry about buying bases that they're never going to use for anything else. There's a range of manufacturers that you can use. Pendraken, the local one to me, has been absolutely fantastic. They actually donated the undead army that I have to paint. They also donated a copy of their fantasy rules, which we're going to try out with a few tweaks. We've also got ideas to maybe try a version of Hail Caesar, might even try To the Strongest, and perhaps some homebrew stuff using fantasy rules. So that's basically it. I'm just looking for people to help if they can. I know that it's not in everyone's kind of ballpark, and I know that it's kind of guilt tripping people a little bit, which I don't intend to do. There's no obligation for anyone to get involved, but if you have the time and can afford to perhaps paint a unit or two for my little boy, that can go towards a charitable cause. Admittedly, it's a local charitable cause to me, but it would be greatly appreciated. It can be any sort of fantasy army. It can be any sort of human army that's painted in a suitable way. So if you want to do samurai, if you want to do Italian Renaissance figures, if you want to do something like the old Warmaster Empire range with steam tanks or gyrocopters, if you want to do penguins, armed penguins, if you want to do Eskimos riding you know, polar bears, whatever you want to do. It could be Byzantine or Byzantine cavalry or Aztec warriors, it really doesn't matter. It'll all be included in this mishmash force of good that will go on to challenge this similarly evil force. And at the same time, if you want to paint some skeletons or orcs or whatever, then that would be welcome as well. Basically that's it. I've got my blog, the Mad Tin Hatter, where I've done a post explaining a bit more about what happened, what we know happened with Joshua, and a post just laying out the intention of the project and what I'm looking to do and what people can do to help. Even just giving a shout out to the project would be really useful, just to spread the word a little bit. So that's it. Apologies for getting a bit upset. I don't know that any take I do of this, I'm not going to get upset, so I'll just do this in one and post it up. Thanks to everyone who's already contacted me and who've already commented and things. There is an email address on my blog, which I'll also post in the information here, that people can contact if they do want to get involved. As you can tell, I am in the UK. I'm aware that there's postage implications and things for people elsewhere, but anything that anyone is willing to do would be gratefully received and very, very much appreciated. Thanks, guys.